Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to look at an interesting little picture book called Waiting for the Biblioburro by Monica Brown and illustrated by John Parra. Now, this is an interesting little book. It tells the story of a little girl who lives in an isolated little town, and she has one book, and her teacher who had taught her and the other students has left to a larger city. And she loves learning and loves to read. And one day she hears the click, click, clop of feet. And here comes this librarian with two burros filled with books. He's the Biblioburro. He's essentially a traveling librarian. So he comes to town. Pictures here, Biblioburros. He has these basically a library book, mobile library book going from village to village. And she's able to borrow books from him, and he talks about them, and then he says, I will come back. And so she reads the books that she borrows from him, and then she waits and waits for it feels like forever, close to a month, before the Biblioburro comes back. In the meantime, she writes a book. You see her, she's giving this little book about the Biblioburro and how he brings books to the remote villages. And when he comes back, she gives it to him. And then he wanders off and goes off to take it to another child in another isolated little village. So this is a cute little book. It's talking about mobile libraries and the idea of the author advocates for this, where in places like, she's Peruvian. The author is Peruvian, so she likes to share children's, Latin American children's stories. And so you have these Biblioburros, these librarians who travel from town to town in these isolated villages that don't have the money to have a library. They're too far from the cities to share knowledge and stories with people in these small isolated towns. And this is common throughout the world. You have people who do this with camels. And I mean, we have in the US, you have bookmobiles where people go around with cars and to areas that don't have libraries, can't afford libraries, or too poor, and provide a mobile library system. So these are this is a very, very cute story. The illustrations are done very well. The author is at least Spanish as well, because the illustrations are done very, very unique. It's a very, very cute book. It represents a different type of library. It's also very cultural. I'm covering it because September is National Library Month. So I wanted to bring in some different books that involve libraries. And this is a cute multicultural little book, definitely by talking about mobile libraries. And it's a good piece of information to have, that how to children in these tiny little villages, particularly in the mountains of Peru, get books. And you have these burros and these librarians who take the time, often with donated books, to travel from little town to little town to bring joy and stories to these children. So this is a very fun little book to cover. And particularly if you're talking about libraries in different cultures and literacy. So that's really it for this review. This is a short little children's book. Definitely probably a good bedtime book. Not a good big read aloud book because it's a little long. I would not read this in a story time. It's it's too long. But it's also, the other thing I should probably point out is it gets some Spanish words in this book. So at the very end, you have a glossary of Spanish terms. So you have the certain days of the week. You have different terms like once upon a time. You have the word for librarian and library, which is biblioteca. Biblio is the word for book. In, not oddly enough, Latin, it's Greek. I've actually looked this up. Biblio, that's why you have biblioteca. Library in Spanish is bookstore. That's one of those things you learn. It's similar to in both Romanian and French. the other two languages I'm familiar with. But it does a few other different things. So it does talk about different people who were, the author did get to know a teacher and librarian who delivers books to children in remote villages with the help of two donkeys, Alfalfa and Bento. So that's where this book story came from. So again, that's the end of this review. Great book, fun book, definitely one you would like to share. If you like what you see, like and subscribe with my channel. I cover a variety of things, including these smaller children's books, some teen books, various different book series, variety of both educational and just fun videos. Most of them are old. I haven't been to a theater in years. I have a small child. So getting out is not something that's available right now. So a lot of it's educational, some of it's good for the little kids, some of it's a little bit more advanced. I also do some kids travel stuff, various homeschooling educational stuff. We are a secular homeschooling family, so non-religious, but I'll cover some educational stuff. So be sure to check out the rest of my channel. Again, like and subscribe and check it out. Thank you.